Before we begin, I strongly recommend you watch this video until the very end. This story is built like a chain of small moments, and the last chapter changes how you see everything that came before. In Paris, a beautiful, long brunette hair, 19 years old woman works long hours in a small cafe, while being pushed around at home by a cold stepfamily that treats her like she's invisible. One night, a surprise invitation pulls her into a high-profile Paris fashion gala near the Eiffel Tower, where she crosses paths with a handsome, short brown hair, 20 years old man who seems rich, confident, and impossible to reach. Their connection is instant, but pressure, identity, and a sudden argument threaten to tear the moment apart before it becomes something real. Chapter 1. The Girl Behind the Counter. I first noticed her on a gray Paris morning, the kind where the sky looks like folded paper and the streets smell like fresh bread and rain. I was sitting near the window of a small cafe in the 7th arrondissement, watching people hurry past with umbrellas and tired eyes. Behind the counter, she moved fast, like she had learned to take up as little space as possible. She couldn't have been more than 19. Beautiful, yes, but not in the loud way people talk about online. It was quiet beauty. Long brunette hair tied back, soft features, and eyes that kept drifting to the street as if she was waiting for a different life to walk in. Her name tag said Ella. The older woman who managed the cafe spoke to her sharply, snapping orders even when Ella was already doing what she'd been told. A couple of young women came in later, dressed in expensive coats, laughing too loud. They looked at Ella like she was furniture. "Ella, hurry up," one of them said, tapping her nails on the glass. "Some of us have plans." Ella lowered her head and apologized even though she'd done nothing wrong. When she turned away, I saw her shoulders tighten, like she was holding in something heavy. Later, when the rush slowed, she wiped tables and tucked a small notebook into her apron pocket. I caught a glimpse of sketches, dress designs maybe. Dreams, definitely. In Paris, dreams are everywhere. But not everyone gets to touch them. Chapter 2. The Boy with Too Much to Prove. That same afternoon, the street outside the cafe changed. A sleek black car stopped at the curb, and heads turned the way they always do when money arrives. A young man stepped out. He looked 20, maybe a little older, because of the way he carried himself. Short brown hair, sharp jaw, a neat suit. The kind of handsome people assume is untouchable. He walked in alone. No friends, no bodyguards, just a quiet confidence that didn't ask permission. Ella froze for half a second when she saw him, then went back to work. The manager rushed over, suddenly sweet as honey. "I'll take that table," Ella said quickly, almost like she didn't want anyone else near him. She brought his coffee with steady hands, but when he thanked her, she didn't meet his eyes. "You work too hard for this place," he said, voice calm. "It's just a job," she answered. He looked at the notebook peeking from her pocket. "And the rest?" Ella's fingers closed around the fabric of her apron. "The rest doesn't matter." The young man didn't push. He just nodded like he understood more than she'd said. When he left, he didn't just drop money on the table. He left a card, thick paper, clean design, expensive. Ella stared at it like it might bite her. On the front it read, "Paris Lumiere Gala. Private invitation." On the back, "If you want a different night, come." Louis, Ella's face went pale. Not because she wasn't interested, because hope can be frightening when you've been trained to live without it. Chapter 3. A Borrowed Dress and Real Paris Lights. The night of the gala arrived with the kind of cold that makes the city sparkle. I watched Paris turn into a film set, cars shining under streetlights, the Seine reflecting gold, the Eiffel Tower blinking like it was keeping time. Ella almost didn't go. I know this because I saw her earlier that evening outside the cafe, standing alone, card in hand, as if the paper weighed more than a brick. But she did go, not in a chauffeur-driven car, not with a designer bag. She arrived by metro and walked the last few blocks with her shoulders back. Her dress, clearly not new, fit her like it had been waiting for her all along. Someone had taken care with it. Maybe she had at the entrance. The guards hesitated. Ella held out the invitation, hands steady. The name Louis changed everything. The rope lifted. Inside, the gala was bright and loud, full of cameras and glittering people. Ella moved through it like a secret. I saw men in tuxedos turn to stare, women whisper behind champagne glasses. And then Louis found her. He crossed the ballroom as if the crowd didn't exist. When he reached her, his face softened like he was relieved she'd come. "You made it," he said. "I don't know why," Ella answered honestly. Louis offered his hand. "Then let me give you a reason." They danced. Not like a show, not like a performance, like two people trying to speak without words. Ella's eyes finally lifted to his. For a moment, Paris didn't feel like a city. It felt like a promise. But promises get complicated when midnight is not just a time, that it's a deadline. Chapter 4. The balcony argument and the glass heel. The air on the balcony was colder, quieter. The Eiffel Tower shimmered behind them, and below, the party kept going like nothing in the world could hurt. Ella leaned against the stone railing, breathing like she'd been running. Louis followed, his voice gentle. "You look like you want to disappear." "I'm not supposed to be here," Ella said. "You are here." "That's not what I mean." Ella's hands shook slightly. "People like me don't walk into places like this and stay. We visit. We borrow the night. Then we go back to real life." Louis frowned. "You think I invited you as a joke?" "No," Ella swallowed. "I think you invited me because you're bored. Because you wanted to feel like you could rescue someone. Because you don't know what it's like to have no choices." That landed hard. Louis's eyes flashed, not with cruelty, but with something wounded. "You think I have choices?" he said, quieter now. "You think money means freedom? I'm expected to marry someone my parents approve of. I'm expected to take over a company I didn't build. I'm expected to smile for photos and pretend I'm grateful." Ella looked away. "At least people see you." Louis stepped closer. "I see you." For a second, the argument hung between them like a thin wire. One wrong word, and it would snap. Ella's phone buzzed, message after message. Her face changed, fear rising fast. "I have to go," she said. "Ella, wait." She backed away, eyes shining, voice breaking. "You can't follow me into my life. You won't like what you see." Then she ran, down the stairs, through the lobby, past the cameras. In the rush, one heel slipped off on the stone step. She didn't stop to grab it. She disappeared into the night, swallowed by Paris traffic and streetlights. Louis stood there holding the lost shoe, like it was proof the moment had been real, and like it was the only clue he had left. Chapter 5. Paris searches, secrets break. The next morning, Louis didn't look like a man going to a meeting. He looked like a man who hadn't slept, carrying a single high heel in his hand as he walked through the city. That he tried hotels. He tried boutiques. He even went back to the gala planners, but the guest list was full of false names and social masks. He went where he'd first seen her. The cafe. I was there again, and I watched the door open as the bell rang. Ella looked up from the counter, and for a second her face went blank with shock. Louis stepped forward carefully, like he didn't want to scare her away. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't demand anything. He just placed the heel on the counter. "You left this," he said. Ella's eyes filled, but she blinked fast, refusing to fall apart in public. "You shouldn't be here." "I shouldn't?" Louis asked. "Or you don't want me here?" Ella's manager was watching. The two stylish young women from before sat at a table near the window, suddenly interested. Their whispers were sharp. Ella's voice dropped low. "My life is messy." Louis nodded. "Mine too." That's when one of the young women stood up and walked over, smiling like she owned the room. She spoke to Louis like they already belonged together. "Louis, your mother's been calling," she said sweetly. "You're making a scene." Ella's face tightened. Louis's jaw clenched. The Step family, because that's what they were, even without old fairy tales, had found a way to turn this into humiliation. And Ella, cornered between fear and pride, did the only thing she'd learned to do. She pushed Louis away with words, sharp enough to protect her, sharp enough to hurt him too. "Just go," she said. "Please." Louis looked at her, and I saw the moment he had to decide whether her go was the truth or a shield. Chapter 6. The choice that isn't a fairy tale. That evening, Paris softened. The wind calmed, and the Seine looked like brushed metal under the setting sun. Ella met Louis near the riverbank. No gala, no music, no chandeliers. Just stone steps, passing boats, and the city breathing around them. Ella spoke first. "I'm sorry for what I said." Louis didn't rush her. "Tell me what's real." So she did. She told him about the apartment where she paid rent, but wasn't allowed to feel at home. About working shifts while her stepsister chased parties, and her stepmother counted Ella's tips like they belonged to someone else. About the way she'd stopped believing she could become what she drew in her notebook. Louis listened like every word mattered. When she finished, she stared at the water. "I don't want you to pity me." "I don't," he said. "I want you to trust me." Ella finally looked at him. "And what do you want, Louis?" "Not for one night. For real." Louis exhaled. The confident mask slipped, and a 20-year-old man stood there instead of a public name. "I want to choose," he said. "For once." They sat in silence, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. The city lights came on one by one, Like Paris was making room for something new, that I can't pretend love fixes everything. It doesn't. It's not magic. But I watched them there by the Seine, and I understood the real modern fairy tale isn't a prince rescuing someone, that it's two people deciding they won't let the world write their story for them. If you enjoyed this modern Paris romance, subscribe to the channel for more love stories, activate notifications so you don't miss the next video, and give this video a like. Comment what you think Ella and Louis should do next, and share this story with someone who loves romantic tales.